Story 1. The Mirror Truck. Jake Patterson had been hauling freight across the Midwest for 17 years, and in all that time, he'd seen his share of strange things on the night roads. But nothing prepared him for what happened on Interstate 80 through Nebraska on a cold October night in 2019. He'd left Omaha just after midnight, hauling a load of industrial machinery bound for Cheyenne. The highway stretched endlessly before him, illuminated only by his headlights and the occasional reflective mile marker. The CB radio crackled with static. Most drivers had cell phones years ago, but Jake kept the old Cobra 29 mounted on his dash out of habit and nostalgia. Around 2:47 a.m., according to his dashboard clock, he noticed headlights in his driver's side mirror. Another semi, running parallel to him in the passing lane. Jake glanced over, but the darkness made it difficult to see details. The truck matched his speed exactly, 67 miles per hour, just below the 70 limit he usually pushed. He eased off the accelerator slightly, expecting the other truck to pass. It slowed with him. He pressed the gas, accelerating to 72. The truck in his mirror accelerated identically, maintaining perfect alignment. Jake could make out the shape now, a Peterbilt 379 just like his own. Same model, same color from what he could tell in the darkness. Even the same custom chrome exhaust stacks. Weird, Jake muttered, reaching for his coffee. Probably just another driver being playful, though it was an odd coincidence about the truck models. He tried the CB. "Hey there, driver in the Peterbilt alongside me at mile marker 312. You trying to race or what? Over." Static answered him. He tried again. Nothing. The truck maintained its position for another mile. Then Jake noticed something that made his throat tight. The trailer. It wasn't just similar to his, it was identical. Same white 53-footer. Same company logo. Same rust pattern near the rear doors that he'd been meaning to get fixed for months. His hands tightened on the steering wheel. He leaned forward, trying to get a better look at the other driver through the passenger window. The angle was wrong, the darkness too thick, but he could see movement in the other cab, a figure behind the wheel. Jake slowed down more dramatically this time, dropping to 55. The other truck matched him perfectly. He accelerated hard, pushing 80. The other truck stayed locked in position as if connected by invisible cables. His heart began hammering against his ribs. He grabbed his phone, thinking he'd take a picture or video. The screen lit up 2:47 a.m. He glanced at his dashboard clock. Also 2:47 a.m. That wasn't right. He'd been driving for at least 10 minutes since he first noticed the time. His phone should have been a minute or two off from the dash clock anyway, it always was. The other truck edged closer. Jake could see it more clearly now in his mirror. The license plate, he squinted. M7K4893. His license plate, his exact license plate. "No," he whispered. "No, that's not possible." He jerked the wheel right, pulling toward the shoulder. The other truck turned with him, still perfectly aligned. Jake's tires hit the rumble strips, the violent vibration shaking the entire cab. He yanked back onto the road, heart racing. In his mirror, the other truck had also swerved to the shoulder and back, mimicking his movements with impossible precision. Jake's mind raced through possibilities. Someone was messing with him, had to be. Maybe a prank, someone who'd gotten details about his truck, and no one could replicate that rust pattern. That specific dent in the trailer from when he'd backed into a loading dock in Des Moines. No one could forge a license plate and get it mounted on an identical truck in the middle of nowhere. He looked at his mirror again, and this time he saw the driver. His breath caught in his throat. The face was partially obscured by shadow, but the posture, the build, the way the hands gripped the steering wheel, it was him. He was looking at himself driving that truck. Jake's vision blurred. His pulse thundered in his ears. He blinked hard, looked again. The figure in the other truck turned its head, looking directly at him. Even through the darkness and distance, Jake could see his own face staring back. Not similar, not a lookalike, him, exactly him. The Jake in the other truck raised his right hand from the wheel and waved. A slow, deliberate wave. Jake screamed. He didn't mean to, but the sound tore from his throat as primal fear overtook him. He slammed the accelerator to the floor. The engine roared, the speedometer climbing 85, 90, 95. The other truck matched his speed effortlessly. His phone rang. The sudden sound in the quiet cab made him jump so hard he nearly swerved. He looked at the screen. The caller ID showed his own number. His own phone was calling itself. With shaking hands, he answered. "Hello, pull over, Jake." It was his voice. His exact voice, with the slight rasp from years of smoking he'd quit 5 years ago. "Pull over and get out." "Who is this?" Jake demanded, though he knew the answer made no sense. "What do you want?" "I want what's pull over." Jake ended the call and threw the phone onto the passenger seat. A road sign flashed past, "Rest area 2 miles." His mind seized on it. People, light, witnesses. He'd pull into the rest area. This couldn't continue there, not with people around. But as he passed mile marker 312, he felt a sick lurch of deja vu. Hadn't he been at 312 already? He looked at his dash clock, 2:47 a.m. His phone, 2:47 a.m. "No, no, no," he chanted, pressing harder on the accelerator though it was already floored. The rest area sign appeared again. Rest area 2 miles. The same sign. The same mile marker rolled past. 312. He was looping. Somehow, impossibly, he was driving through the same stretch of highway over and over. The truck beside him honked. Jake's own horn, the same slightly off-key tone from a compressor he needed to replace. He looked over. The other Jake was grinning now, a wide, terrible grin that didn't look quite right on his own face. Too wide, too many teeth. Jake's truck began to shake. Not mechanical failure, something else. The vibration came from everywhere at once, as if reality itself was trembling. His mirror image grew clearer, more solid. The other truck seemed to be merging closer, drifting into his lane despite the fact that there should have been a 10-foot gap between them. In desperation, Jake grabbed the wheel with both hands and cranked it hard left, directly toward the other truck. If this was some kind of hallucination, some stress-induced breakdown, maybe confronting it would break the illusion. The 2 trucks collided, and Jake felt his vehicle pass through the other one like driving through smoke. The sensation was indescribable, like being pulled apart and compressed simultaneously. He felt cold, so cold his bones ached. His vision doubled, tripled. He could see the road from 2 sets of eyes. He could feel 2 steering wheels, 2 gas pedals. Then he was through, alone in the passing lane. His mirror showed empty highway behind him. The clock read 2:52 a.m. 5 minutes had finally passed. Jake drove in shocked silence for 20 miles before he trusted himself to pull over. His hands wouldn't stop shaking. He checked his phone, his logs, his GPS. Everything was normal. The time moved forward correctly now. The loop had broken. But when he climbed out to check his truck, he found something that made his blood run cold. There, on the driver's side door, scratched deep into the paint, were 5 words in his own handwriting. "I'm still in the mirror." Jake looked up at his side mirror. His reflection stared back. And slowly, stood frozen. The reflection smiled. That too wide smile with too many teeth, even though Jake's own face was paralyzed with fear. He quit long-haul trucking the next day. The truck sat at a dealership for 3 months before someone bought it. Jake heard later that the new owner had it repainted immediately. Said something about the mirrors. Said he kept seeing things in them that shouldn't be there. Said he kept seeing someone who looked exactly like the previous owner, still driving, still trapped, still smiling that horrible smile. Jake never asked for details. He drives a desk now at a logistics company in Lincoln. He hasn't looked in a rearview mirror since that night. Not once. He doesn't think he ever will again. Story 2. The station that wasn't there. Marcus Webb prided himself on his preparation. 22 years driving trucks had taught him to plan every route meticulously, know every fuel stop, every way station, every rest area. His logbook was immaculate, his maintenance schedule religious. The Kenworth T680 he drove was only 3 years old and ran like a dream. So when his GPS showed a fuel station that wasn't in any of his databases, Marcus was immediately suspicious. It was late September 2021, and he was hauling electronics through rural Montana on Highway 200. The road wound through forests so thick they seemed to swallow the afternoon light. Marcus had planned to fuel up in Lincoln, but construction had closed the station unexpectedly. His range was getting tight, 140 miles left before empty, and the next known station was 175 miles ahead. The GPS screen flickered, and a new icon appeared. Fuel 12 miles ahead, Marcus frowned. He'd driven this route a dozen times. There was no fuel station for another 90 miles. He checked his Rand McNally Atlas, his backup Garmin, even opened Google Maps on his phone. None of them showed anything, but his main GPS insisted. He watched as the distance counted down. 11 miles, 10 miles. His fuel gauge sat at just under a quarter tank. He could make it to the known station, but it would be close. If there was actually a place to fuel up ahead, it would be stupid not to stop. At the 12-mile mark, he rounded a curve, and there it was. The station sat in a small clearing carved from the forest. A single island with 2 pumps, diesel and regular. An old-style building, the kind from the 1960s with large windows and a peaked roof. A hand-painted sign read, "Maggie's Fuel and Rest." No logos, no corporate colors. Just weathered wood and faded paint. Marcus pulled in, his air brakes hissing. The place looked deserted. No other vehicles. No lights in the windows despite the growing darkness under the tree canopy. But the pumps looked operational, old-fashioned mechanical ones with rolling number displays instead of digital screens. He climbed down from the cab, his boots crunching on gravel. The air felt wrong somehow. Too still. Too quiet. The forest around the station was utterly silent. No birds, no wind, no insects. Just oppressive stillness. The building's door was propped open. Marcus walked to it, intending to go inside and prepay. "Hello," he called. His voice seemed to die immediately, not even producing an echo. The interior was dim. Shelves lined with products, but Marcus couldn't quite focus on them. His eyes kept sliding away whenever he tried to look directly at the merchandise. A counter stood at the back with an old mechanical cash register. No one was there. "Hello," he tried again. "Anyone working?" A woman emerged from a door behind the counter. She was middle-aged, wearing a simple dress that might have been fashionable decades ago. Her face was pleasant but oddly blank, like a mask of normalcy stretched over something else. "Fill up," she asked. Her voice had a strange quality, slightly off in pitch and timing. "Yeah, diesel, how much? Pump first, pay after," she smiled. It didn't reach her eyes. Marcus returned to his truck, feeling uneasy. He unhooked the nozzle from the diesel pump. The metal was ice cold despite the mild temperature. The numbers on the pump were frozen at 0, not moving. He squeezed the handle. Fuel flowed. He could hear it, smell it, but the pump numbers didn't change. The mechanical dials didn't roll. They stayed at 0, frozen. Marcus kept the handle squeezed for what felt like the right amount of time to fill his tank, then stopped. He checked his gauge, full. Completely full, though the pump claimed he dispensed nothing. A cold knot formed in his stomach. He should leave, just leave, but something made him walk back to the building. He had to understand what this place was. The woman stood in the exact same position, wearing the exact same smile. "Pump 22 gallons, Marcus said, testing her. "What do I owe you?" "No charge," she said. "First time is free." "First time. Everyone stops here eventually. Everyone who drives this road long enough. First time is free. After that." Her smile widened, becoming something that wasn't quite human. "After that, you can't stop coming back." Marcus took a step backward. "I don't understand." "You will, 3 more trips. You'll pass by 3 more times telling yourself you won't. But you will. The 4th time you'll need to, your truck will run dry right here, and then you'll stay, like Frank, like Eddie, like Sarah." She gestured toward the shelves. Marcus forced himself to look directly at them. What he'd thought were products resolved into something else. People. Standing perfectly still between the aisles, frozen like mannequins. A man in trucker clothes from the 1980s, another in modern gear, a woman in a company uniform. Their eyes moved, just their eyes, tracking Marcus as he stood in the doorway. "What is this?" Marcus whispered. "A stop along the way, a place between. You're not the first to ask, you won't be the last." The woman's face flickered for a moment, revealing something underneath, something with too many angles and shadows that bent wrong. Marcus ran. He heard laughter behind him, high and hollow. He climbed into his cab, hands shaking so badly he could barely turn the key. The engine started, thank God it started, and he threw the transmission into gear. As he pulled onto the highway, he looked back. The station was gone, just trees, unbroken forest, as if the clearing had never existed. His GPS screen was normal again. No icon, no fuel station marked, like it had never been there at all. Marcus drove straight to the next town and stopped at a real corporate branded fuel station. His tank was full, completely full. He hadn't imagined it. He checked his fuel log against his gauge. The math didn't work. He should have been nearly empty. He told himself he'd never drive that route again. He'd take longer paths, add hours to his trips. Anything to avoid Highway 200 through that section of Montana. But 3 months later, a delivery required it. He watched his GPS nervously the entire drive. Nothing appeared. He passed the area where the station should have been, just trees. He exhaled in relief. 6 months after that, another trip, same route, same stretch of highway. He gripped the wheel, knuckles white. Nothing, just trees. The third time was September again, exactly 1 year after the first encounter. Marcus had almost convinced himself it had been stress, hallucination, something explainable. His fuel was good. He'd passed through the area with half a tank to spare. Then construction appeared. Unexpected road work, a 40-mile detour that burned through fuel. His gauge dropped faster than it should have. The needle sank toward empty, and at exactly the spot where it had been before, his GPS flickered. A new icon appeared, fuel 1 mile ahead. "No," Marcus said aloud. "No, no, no." His engine sputtered. The gauge hit empty. The truck began to lose power. Around the clearing appeared Maggie's fuel and rest. The woman stood in the doorway waiting, smiling. Behind her on the shelves, 4 frozen figures now stood. Frank, Eddie, Sarah, and one new space empty waiting. Marcus's truck rolled to a stop at the pumps. The engine died. He tried to restart it. Nothing, completely dead despite having been perfectly maintained. The woman walked toward him. "Welcome back," she called. "4th time, just like I said." Marcus tried his phone, no signal. CB radio, dead static. His doors wouldn't open. The locks had engaged on their own. Through the window, he watched the woman approach. Behind her, the 4 people on the shelves began to move, walking in perfect unison, emerging from the building. Their faces were blank. Their eyes were empty. They surrounded his truck. Marcus screamed, pounding on the windows. The woman placed her palm against the glass. Where she touched, frost spread in impossible patterns. "Don't fight it," she said. "The transition is easier if you don't fight." Marcus felt cold spreading through his body. His movements slowed. His thoughts became sluggish. The last thing he saw before everything froze was his reflection in the side mirror. His face was becoming blank, empty, just like the others. The station appears on GPS systems sometimes, for drivers running low on fuel on Highway 200. The reviews online are strange, people mentioning it, others saying it doesn't exist. Truckers trade stories about Maggie's place, the station that isn't there. Most dismiss it as urban legend, a ghost story. But every year a few trucks are found abandoned on that stretch of highway. Empty of fuel, engines dead, doors locked from the inside. The drivers are never found. The trucks are always completely intact, nothing stolen, nothing damaged, just empty, like something had taken the drivers somewhere else, somewhere between, somewhere that waits for the 4th time. Story 3. The cargo THAT screamed. Dennis Kowalski had hauled everything in his 19 years on the road: furniture, food, machinery, hazmat materials. He'd gotten comfortable with the weird jobs, the late-night pickups, the unmarked warehouses, the shady manifestos that didn't quite match the cargo. It paid better, and Dennis had learned not to ask questions. But the job he picked up outside of Shreveport, Louisiana in March 2020 was different from the start. Warehouse sat alone on a rural road, surrounded by empty fields. No signs, no company name, just a GPS coordinate his broker had sent. A man in a suit met him there at 11 p.m. Unusual. Most warehouse guys wore work clothes. "Kowalski," the man asked. "That's me. Need you to take this to a facility in Arkansas. Address is in the GPS unit we're providing. Use only that GPS. Don't deviate from the route." Dennis frowned. "What am I hauling?" "Medical equipment. Sealed containers. Very sensitive, climate-controlled. Do not under any circumstances open the trailer or attempt to inspect the cargo." The man handed him an envelope. "There's $20,000 in cash, half now, half on delivery. 20 grand for a single run to Arkansas." Dennis's instincts screamed that this was wrong, probably illegal, but 20 grand, his daughter's college tuition was due. His truck needed new tires, 20 grand. "Fine," he said. They loaded the trailer quickly. 6 large containers, each about the size of a coffin, made from brushed steel with heavy locks. They hummed faintly with refrigeration units. Medical equipment, sure. Dennis hit the road just after midnight. The GPS unit they'd provided showed a route that took him through back roads, avoiding interstates. He merged onto Highway 171, heading north. The first hour was quiet. His CB picked up occasional chatter from other drivers. The road was dark but familiar enough. Rural Louisiana highways, trees pressing close on both sides. Then he heard it, a sound from the trailer, faint, barely audible over the engine noise. He turned down the radio. There it was again, a scraping sound, metal on metal. Settling cargo, he told himself. The containers shifting slightly. Normal. But then he heard something else. A voice. Muffled, distant, but definitely a voice. Human, speaking or maybe crying, he couldn't tell. Dennis's hands tightened on the wheel. Medical equipment. The man had said medical equipment, nothing alive, nothing that could make sounds. The voice came again, louder. Then a second voice joined it, then a third, all muffled, all coming from the sealed trailer behind him. Overlapping, creating a chorus of muted sounds that made his skin crawl. He grabbed the CB. "Breaker, breaker, anyone out there? This is Kowalski on 171 northbound. Anyone copy?" Static answered him. Heavy, oppressive static. The voices in the trailer grew louder. He could make out words now. "Let us out, please, help us, it hurts." Dennis pulled over, his heart hammering. He climbed out, walked to the back of the trailer. The refrigeration units hummed steadily. He pressed his ear against the door. Silence, complete silence. He waited for 2 full minutes. Nothing, no voices, no scraping. He must have imagined it. Stress, exhaustion, the weirdness of the job getting to him. He returned to the cab and continued driving. 5 miles later, the screaming started. Not muffled anymore. Clear, desperate, agonized screaming coming from the trailer. Multiple voices screaming simultaneously. Dennis nearly drove off the road. He pulled over again, breathing hard, hands shaking. "This isn't happening," he said aloud. "This isn't real." The screaming continued. Inhuman in its intensity, like nothing Dennis had ever heard. He fumbled for his phone to call 911. No signal. The GPS unit they'd given him showed his position, but his personal phone had 0 bars despite being in an area that should have coverage. A new sound joined the screaming, pounding. The containers were being struck from inside, heavy blows that shook the trailer. Dennis could see it swaying on its suspension. He made a decision. He'd open the trailer. If there were people inside, he'd let them out, face the consequences, lose the money, whatever. He wasn't going to transport people against their will. He unlocked the trailer door and swung it open. The containers sat exactly as they'd been loaded, sealed, undisturbed. The screaming stopped instantly. The pounding ceased, complete silence. Dennis climbed into the trailer. He approached the nearest container, pressed his hand against it. The metal was ice cold despite the climate control keeping the air at a moderate temperature. He knocked on it. The sound was hollow. "Hello," he called. "Is someone in there?" No answer. He examined the lock, a complex electronic mechanism he had no hope of opening without tools. He tried anyway, pulling at it uselessly. His phone rang. The sudden sound made him jump so violently he nearly fell. He looked at the screen. Unknown number. No bars of signal, but somehow ringing. He answered. "Hello, Mr. Kowalski." The voice was the man from the warehouse. "We have cameras in your trailer. Step away from the containers. Close the door. Continue to the delivery point." "There are people in these," Dennis said. "I hear them. They're screaming." "No, Mr. Kowalski, there are no people. Continue to the delivery point." "I'm calling the police." "You have no signal. The only call you can receive is this one. Close the door. Get back in the truck. The alternative is very unfortunate for you and your family. We know where your daughter attends college. We know where your wife works." The call ended. Dennis stood frozen in the trailer, a threat. They'd threatened his family, but the screaming, he couldn't unhear it, couldn't pretend it hadn't happened. He closed the trailer door. His hands moved automatically, numb with shock and fear. He climbed back into the cab. He started driving. The GPS showed 147 miles to the point. Dennis drove in silence, his mind racing through options. Going to the police would take time. They'd probably think he was crazy without evidence. These people, whoever they were, clearly had resources and reach. They'd threatened his family. The screaming started again at mile marker 84. Worse this time, begging, pleading, words that tore at his conscience. "Please help us, don't leave us. We're dying, please." Tears ran down Dennis's face. He turned the radio up as loud as it would go, drowning out the sounds. But he could still hear them underneath, a nightmare chorus that seemed to come from inside his own head now. At mile marker 52, the voices changed. They stopped begging. They started laughing. High manic laughter that sounded wrong, distorted. Then they began speaking in unison, words he didn't understand. A language he'd never heard, rhythmic and disturbing. Dennis's vision blurred. The road seemed to twist ahead of him, bending in ways that violated geometry. He blinked hard, gripping the wheel. Hallucinating. He had to be hallucinating. The delivery point appeared at 3:47 a.m. Another unmarked warehouse, this one surrounded by high fences topped with razor wire. Guards with rifles stood at the gate. They waved him through without asking for identification. Dennis backed up to the loading dock. Men in white hazmat suits emerged. They opened his trailer with electronic keys he hadn't been given. They unloaded the containers with hydraulic equipment, moving efficiently and silently. The man in the suit appeared at Dennis's window. He handed over another envelope. "The second half of your payment. Excellent work." "What was in those containers?" Dennis asked. "Medical equipment as specified." The man's face was expressionless. "Drive away now, Mr. Kowalski. Forget this delivery happened. Forget what you thought you heard. It was a long night. Your mind played tricks, that's all." "It wasn't, that's all. Go home to your family." Dennis took the money. He drove away as the sun began to rise. His phone signal returned 10 miles from the facility. Messages from his wife and daughter appeared, normal messages talking about their day. Safe, they were safe. He never took another unmarked job, never hauled for that broker again. He told himself the man was right. It had been a long night. His mind had played tricks. There was probably nothing alive in those containers. Probably. But 6 months later, Dennis saw a news report. A pharmaceutical company in Arkansas was under investigation for unauthorized human testing. Experiments on unwilling subjects. The facility had been raided, was sealed. The footage showed a warehouse surrounded by razor wire fence. Dennis recognized it immediately. That night, lying in bed, he heard it again. Faint, distant, like an echo from memory, screaming, pleading, that terrible laughter. He heard it sometimes, even now. Always at 3:47 a.m., always the same voices. His therapist calls it trauma, guilt manifesting as auditory hallucinations. Prescribes medication. It helps, mostly, but Dennis knows the truth. He knows what he heard was real. He knows he transported something terrible, something that begged for help while he drove them to a nightmare. He knows, and he has to live with it. With the $20,000 in his daughter's college fund that came from screams and suffering. With the knowledge that he chose his family over strangers in containers. He knows, and every night at 3:47 a.m. they remind him. They always will. Story 4. The Road That Ate Drivers. Patricia "Trish" Morrison was one of only 3% of truckers who were women, and she'd spent 12 years proving she was tougher than most of the men in the industry. She'd hauled through blizzards, navigated mountain passes, and handled every mechanical crisis without calling for help. Her Freightliner Cascadia was her pride, customized, maintained to perfection, and covered with decals from every state she'd conquered. The job that brought her to Nevada in August 2018 was routine. Furniture from California to Salt Lake City, straight shot across I-80. But construction closed a section near Winnemucca, forcing a detour onto State Route 794, a road Trish had never heard of despite her extensive knowledge of Western routes. The detour sign looked official enough. Orange reflective arrow pointing south onto a 2-lane highway that cut through desert scrubland. The sign said I-80 East, 73 miles. Trish checked her GPS. It showed the route, though it wasn't her preferred path. She merged onto SR 794 at 7:15 p.m. The landscape was typical Nevada, sage brush, rock formations, mountains in the distance turning purple with sunset. Trish had driven through desert plenty of times. This was nothing special. She settled in, radio playing classic rock, windows down to catch the cooling evening air. At mile marker 23, she passed an abandoned car. A sedan, probably from the 90s, sitting on the shoulder with its hood up. No one around. Desert roads were littered with abandoned vehicles. People broke down, got towed, left the carcass for later removal. Normal. Mile marker 31, more vehicles. A pickup truck and a minivan, both sitting on the roadside. Both empty. Both looked like they'd been there for months, judging by the dust and sun damage. Trish's instincts prickled. 3 abandoned vehicles on a single stretch of highway was unusual but not impossible. She continued on. Mile marker 38. 4 vehicles now visible, 2 cars, a motorcycle, another pickup. All abandoned, all empty. Trish slowed down, her unease growing. She reached for her CB radio. Breaker 19, this is Trish Morrison on Nevada State Route 794. Anyone out there familiar with this road? Seeing a lot of abandoned vehicles. Over. Static. She tried again. Nothing but dead air. She checked her phone. No signal. Not unusual in Nevada's empty stretches, but combined with the vehicles, it felt wrong. She should turn around. The thought hit her clearly. Turn around, find another route. But she was nearly 40 miles in. Turning around meant backtracking 40 miles plus the original detour, adding hours to her trip. The deadline for delivery was tight. She pressed onward. Mile marker 47. The abandoned vehicles were getting more numerous. 8 at this marker, scattered on both shoulders and 1 in the median. Trish's heart rate picked up. Something was very wrong. She accelerated, pushing 70 miles per hour despite the curve-heavy road. Then she saw another truck, a semi-newer model sitting on the shoulder ahead. Its lights were on. Engine running, she could see the exhaust. Trish slowed, pulling alongside. She saw the driver slumped over the wheel, apparently asleep. She honked her horn. The driver jerked upright, looking at her with wide, terrified eyes. A man, probably in his 50s, face pale. He gestured frantically. Trish couldn't hear him, but she could read his lips. "Go back, turn around," she gestured that she couldn't hear. He pointed behind his truck, urgency in every motion. Trish looked. The road behind him was gone, not blocked, not destroyed, gone. Where pavement should have been, there was nothing, a void. Empty space that wasn't black or white or any color. It was an absence, like reality had been erased. It extended from shoulder to shoulder, wall to wall, a curtain of nothingness, and it was moving forward. Slowly but visibly, it was advancing up the highway, consuming the road as it came. Trish's mind went blank with terror. She slammed the accelerator. Her truck surged forward. In her mirror, she saw the other driver trying to start his truck, trying to pull away from the approaching void. His vehicle didn't move. Dead despite the lights and exhaust she'd seen. The void reached. The rear of the trailer touched that curtain of nothing and ceased to exist. Not exploded, not destroyed, simply ceased. The trailer was shortened by 10 feet instantly, the cut edge showing the interior cargo spilling out and then vanishing as the void advanced. The driver screamed. Trish saw his mouth open wide as the nothing reached his cab. Then he was gone. The entire truck was gone, erased from existence. Trish drove faster, 80-90 miles per hour on a road rated for 55. The truck shook with the speed, trailer swaying dangerously. She didn't care. Behind her, the void continued its steady advance. She passed more abandoned vehicles. Now she understood. These people had stopped for any reason, mechanical trouble, rest, phone call, and the void had caught them. They tried to run on foot. How far could you get on foot in the desert before that impossible thing erased you from existence? Her CB suddenly crackled to life. One listening, do not stop on 794, repeat, do not stop, a woman's voice, desperate and breaking up. Thing is chasing us, it's eating the road, we can't. The transmission cut off into static. Trish looked at her speedometer, 95. Her engine was red-lining, she couldn't maintain this speed. The detour sign had said 73 miles. She checked her odometer, she'd gone 58 miles. 15 more to go. Void wasn't fast, but it was relentless. She estimated it was moving at about 30 miles per hour. As long as she kept moving faster, she'd be okay. Then her check engine light came on. No, Trish said through clenched teeth. No, not now, come on baby, stay with me. The engine temperature gauge climbed. She was pushing the truck beyond its safe limits. Something would break soon, a belt, a hose, a gasket. She'd done this to herself by going so fast. Mile marker 62, 11 miles to go. Her temperature gauge hit the red zone. She had maybe 2 minutes before the engine seized. She saw a curve ahead, sharp and tight. At this speed, she'd never make it. She'd have to slow down. The void would gain ground. She might not be able to accelerate fast enough afterward. Trish made a snap decision born of 12 years of driving experience. She kept her speed, aiming for the inside of the curve, praying the trailer would hold. The turn came up. She cranked the wheel. The truck tilted, the trailer swinging wide. For a moment she was on 2 wheels, certain she would roll. The wheels slammed back down. She made it. The road straightened. 9 miles to go. Her engine made a sound like grinding metal. The temperature gauge couldn't go any higher. Smoke began pouring from under the hood. The cab filled with the smell of. Come on, she begged. Come on, just a little more. Mile marker 68. 5 miles. She could see the interstate ahead, the proper highway with other vehicles, civilization. She could see the junction where SR 794 merged back into I-80. Her engine seized. The grinding became a horrible screeching and then silence. The truck lost power. She was coasting, speed bleeding away. 90, 80, 70. The void was visible in her mirror now, a wall of nothing covering the entire road, getting closer. 60 miles per hour. 50. Trish's hands ached from gripping the wheel. She was crying, she realized. Tears streaming down her face as the merge point got closer, but her speed continued to drop. 40, 35. The void was 100 yards behind, eating abandoned vehicles as it came, erasing the world. 25. The merge point was right there, so close. Trish could see cars on I-80, normal traffic, people who had no idea what was behind her. 20 miles per hour. 15. She was barely moving. The void was 50 yards away. She could see its edge clearly now, not just nothing but wrongness. Looking at it too long made her eyes hurt, made her brain refuse to process what it was seeing. 10 miles per hour, 25 yards. She wasn't going to make it. Trish unbuckled her seatbelt. She opened the door while the truck was still moving. 5 miles per hour, 10 yards, she jumped. The pavement rushed up. She hit hard, rolling, skin tearing, bones bruising. She scrambled to her feet and ran. Behind her, the truck rolled to a complete stop just before the merge point. The void reached it. The Freightliner, her pride, her customized perfect truck, touched that curtain of nothing and ceased to exist. Trish ran. She could hear it behind her, not a sound but a sensation, a feeling of reality being unmade. She crossed the merge point, stumbled onto I-80 and collapsed on the proper interstate. She turned to look back. SR 794 was gone. The merge point showed only empty desert, no road, no sign directing people to a detour, no abandoned vehicles, nothing but scrubland and rocks. A trucker pulled over, running to help her. "Lady, are you okay? What happened?" "The road," Trish gasped. "The road that ate, but there was no road." She looked at where SR 794 should have been, just desert, as if it had never existed at all. Trish was treated for her injuries, road rash, a sprained wrist, bruised ribs. She filed a police report about her truck. They searched for SR 794 on maps. It didn't exist, had never existed. There was no Nevada State Route 794. Her insurance company denied the claim. No evidence of the truck's location or what had happened to it. GPS showed her last position on I-80, then nothing, as if the truck had vanished. Trish knows what happened. She drives locally now, daytime only, known routes only. She'll never take a detour again. She checks and rechecks her maps, making sure every road she travels is real, established, documented, because she knows the truth. There are roads that shouldn't exist, roads that appear when they need to, leading drivers somewhere they can't return from. Roads that eat trucks and people and reality itself, leaving nothing behind but desert and silence. She knows, and she won't let it happen again. Not to her. But sometimes, late at night, she hears about another driver who disappeared. Another truck that vanished without explanation on a route that should have been safe. Another mysterious detour that led somewhere impossible. And she wonders how many of those roads are out there, waiting. Hungry. Story 5. The HITCHHIKER Who Knew Your Name. Raymond Torres had a strict rule against picking up hitchhikers. 30 years of driving trucks through every state in America had taught him that stopping for strangers was inviting trouble. But on a cold November night in 2017, driving through Wyoming on I-25, he broke his rule. The woman stood on the shoulder just north of Cheyenne, illuminated in his headlights. She wore a simple dress completely inappropriate for the near-freezing temperature. No jacket, no visible bags, just standing there with her thumb out, long hair whipping in the wind. Raymond started to pass, but something made him stop. Maybe it was the cold. Maybe it was seeing his own daughter's face superimposed on the stranger's. Maybe it was something else entirely. He pulled over. The woman walked to his passenger door and climbed up before he could change his mind. Up close, she looked to be in her 30s, pale-skinned with dark eyes. She smiled at him. "Thank you, Raymond," she said. "I've been waiting for you." His blood went cold. "How do you know my name?" "It's on your jacket." She pointed. His embroidered name tag, of course. Logical explanation. He exhaled, his paranoia easing slightly. "Where are you headed?" he asked. "North, wherever you're going, as long as you'll have me." Her voice was pleasant, normal, but something in her eyes was off, too intense, too focused. Raymond put the truck in gear. "I'm going to Montana. That work for you?" "Perfect," she said. "That's exactly where I need to be." They drove in silence for a few minutes. Raymond kept glancing at her. She sat perfectly still, hands folded in her lap, staring straight ahead. Not fidgeting, not looking at her phone. She didn't seem to have one, just sitting. "Cold night to be hitchhiking," Raymond said, trying to make conversation. "I don't feel the cold anymore." Weird phrasing. "You do this often, hitchhike?" "Only when I need to, only with specific people." She turned to look at him. "You're wondering if you made a mistake picking me up." "Little bit, yeah, you did. But not the kind you're thinking." Raymond's hands tightened on the wheel. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means I'm not going to hurt you, Raymond Torres." Born March 15, 1967 in Albuquerque. Married to Linda for 28 years. 2 daughters, Jessica, 26, and Maria, 23. You live on Maple Street, house number 847. You drive for Consolidated Freight. Your truck number is CF2891. Raymond nearly swerved off the road. His heart hammered against his ribs. How the hell do you know all that? I know a lot about you. I know you cheated on Linda in 2003 with a woman named Deborah in Phoenix. I know you stole money from your first employer to pay gambling debts. I know about the accident in 2011 that you didn't report, the one where you sideswiped a car and drove away. Stop, Raymond said. His voice shook. Stop talking. I know you killed someone, Raymond. The cab was completely silent except for the engine's drone. Raymond couldn't breathe. His vision tunneled. The woman sat calmly, still staring at him with those 2 intense eyes. What? He finally managed to whisper. December 19, 2009, Highway 70, New Mexico. You were driving tired, nodding off. You drifted into the shoulder. You felt the impact but told yourself it was an animal. You didn't stop. You kept driving. No, Raymond said, but he remembered. God, he remembered. The thump, the slight jolt. He'd convinced himself it was a deer, had to be a deer. It was a teenager named Christopher Reeves, 17 years old. He was walking to his girlfriend's house because his car had broken down. You hit him at 65 miles per hour. He died instantly. They found him 3 hours later. No one ever knew what happened. His family still wonders. They still hope for answers. Raymond pulled over. His whole body was shaking. Who are you? I'm someone who knows things, secrets, the truth people bury, and I'm here to make you a deal. What kind of deal? I need to get to Montana, specifically to a town called Whitehall. If you take me there, I'll forget everything I know about you. I'll never tell. Your secrets will be safe. Raymond stared at her. And if I do, then I'll tell everyone. I'll go to the police. I'll go to your wife. I'll go to Christopher Reeves' parents. I have evidence you. Pieces of paint from your truck found at the scene. Traffic camera footage from a gas station showing your license plate hours after the accident. Evidence that's been sitting in storage, waiting for someone to connect it. You're lying. Am I? She pulled out a phone. Where had that come from? He hadn't seen her holding it before. She showed him a photo. His truck, his old truck from 2009. Clear as day. Time stamped hours after the accident. Paint scratches visible on the front bumper. Raymond thought he might vomit. How did you get that? I told you, I know things, so do we have a deal? You drive me to Whitehall, Montana. I forget everything. Simple. What choice did he have? Fine, deal, she smiled. Excellent, let's keep driving, Raymond. They continued north. Raymond's mind raced through possibilities. Call the police and tell them what? That a hitchhiker knew about an accident from 8 years ago. They'd de-investigate and he'd be finished. Keep driving and hope she kept her word. What guarantee did he have? What are you? He asked after an hour of silence. What do you think I am? I don't know, some kind of demon, ghost. Does it matter? I'm here. I know what you did. That's what matters. Raymond drove through the night, exhausted and terrified. The woman didn't sleep, didn't move, just sat there, occasionally giving him directions that matched where he was already headed. Around 4 a.m., passing through Casper, she spoke again. You want to know why I need to go to Whitehall? Yeah, there's a man there, Michael Brennan. He did something very bad, worse than you. I'm going to give him the same choice I'm giving you. You do this to multiple people. I've been doing it for a long time, hitchhiking, finding people with secrets, making deals. It's what I do. Why? Because justice doesn't work. The guilty go free. The innocent suffer. I balance things in my own way. By blackmailing people, by giving them a choice, transport me, help me reach the next person. Or face consequences, it's fair. Raymond didn't think it was fair at all, but he kept driving. They crossed into Montana at dawn. The woman looked out at the landscape, almost peaceful. Beautiful country, she said. I've crossed it hundreds of times, never gets old. How long have you been doing this? Raymond asked. Since 1952. Raymond looked at her. She was 30-something. That was impossible. You're lying. I was 28 when I died. Car accident. Drunk driver hit me while I was hitchhiking. I had so many secrets, Raymond. So many things I'd seen and heard. When I died, I didn't move on, I stayed. And I realized I could still know things, could still see the truth about people, so I started using it. You're a ghost. I'm something, call it what you want. They reached Whitehall by noon. The woman directed him to a specific address, a small house on the edge of town. A man was working in the yard, late 40s, ordinary looking. That's Michael, the woman said. He murdered his business partner in 2015, made it look like a suicide. He's been living comfortably ever since. She opened the door. Thank you for the ride, Raymond. Our deal is complete. I'll forget everything about you now. Just like that, I keep my promises. She climbed down, then she turned back. But Raymond, you should confess. Tell Christopher's parents what happened. It won't bring him back, but it'll give them closure. And it'll free you from carrying it. I can't. You can. You're not a monster. You made a terrible mistake. Own it. The guilt is killing you anyway. She smiled, sad now instead of intense. Take care of yourself. She walked toward the house. Raymond sat frozen, watching. Michael looked up from his gardening, saw her, frowned. She said something. His face went pale. They talked for a moment. Then he nodded, shoulders slumping in defeat. The woman walked away, heading down the street. Raymond watched her until she raised her thumb. A pickup truck stopped. She climbed in. They drove away. Raymond sat there for 20 minutes, his mind blank. Then he started the truck and drove to Montana's Consolidated Freight Depot. He completed his delivery in a daze. That night in a motel room, he called Linda. He told her everything about the affair, about the gambling, about the accident in 2009, about the boy he'd killed. She cried. He cried. Their marriage wouldn't survive it, he knew that. But he also knew the woman was right. The guilt had been killing him. The next day, he drove to New Mexico. He went to the police in the county where the accident had happened. He confessed everything. They investigated. The evidence was real, the paint chips, the traffic camera, all of it. They charged him with vehicular manslaughter and leaving the scene. He pled guilty. He served 4 years. He lost his marriage, his career, his daughter's respect for a long time. But he also met Christopher's parents. He apologized, though nothing he said could undo what he'd done. They were angry, devastated. But after years, they forgave him. Not because he deserved it, but because they needed to. Raymond works as a warehouse supervisor now. He'll never drive a truck again, part of his plea agreement. Sometimes he thinks about the woman. The hitchhiker who knew his name, knew his secrets, knew exactly what to say to change his life. He wonders how many other drivers have picked her up, how many other people she's confronted with their buried sins. He wonders if she's still out there, thumb out, waiting for the next person who needs to face their past. He hopes she is, because as much as it terrified him, as much as it destroyed his old life, it also saved him. He just wishes he knew her name. He never asked, never thought to. But he imagines sometimes that she knows he thinks of her, that somehow she knows he's grateful. And on cold November nights when he sees hitchhikers on the roadside, he always stops. Not because he expects to see her again, he doesn't think it works that way, but because someone might need help. Someone might need a chance to face what they've done, just like he did. Story 6. The Phantom Convoy. Leonard Shaw drove nights because he liked the solitude. 43 years old, divorced, no kids. He'd been hauling refrigerated goods across the Midwest for 16 years. His Volvo VNL was his home, the highways his only companion. He didn't mind. After the divorce, he'd learned to prefer the loneliness. But the night of October 13, 2019, changed his relationship with solitude forever. He was running I-70 through Kansas, headed east toward Kansas City with a load of frozen meat. The highway was empty, too. 30 m on a Tuesday meant almost no traffic, just darkness, fields of wheat, and the occasional distant farmhouse light. His headlights caught movement ahead, taillights, multiple sets all moving together, a convoy of trucks, 4 of them running in formation. Leonard frowned. Convoys were rare these days. Most companies staggered their deliveries, but truckers sometimes formed informal groups for company or safety. He maintained his distance, not wanting to crowd them. But as he got closer, details emerged that made him uneasy. The trucks were old, really old. They looked like models from the 1970s, Kenworth W900s with long hoods, classic chrome, the kind of trucks that had mostly been retired or relegated to shows. Their exhaust stacks poured black smoke, a sign of ancient diesel engines without modern emissions controls. Leonard checked his CB. Convoy communications usually happened on Channel 19. He listened. Silence. Breaker 19, this is Leonard Shaw coming up behind you eastbound. You guys running together. Over. No response. The trucks ahead maintained perfect formation, 2 lanes, 2 trucks in each, running exactly parallel with maybe 10 feet between them. Their speed was steady at precisely 65 miles per hour. Leonard accelerated to pass. As he pulled alongside the left rear truck, he got his first clear look. The trailer was unmarked, old style with riveted panels. Through the driver's window, he could see nothing. The cab appeared empty, no driver. The wheel turned, making minute adjustments to keep the truck perfectly straight. Leonard's stomach lurched. He accelerated harder, pulling alongside the left front truck. Same thing, empty cab, no driver. What the hell, he whispered. He fell back, his mind refusing to process what he was seeing. Driverless trucks, advanced automation. But these trucks were 50 years old. They shouldn't even be running, let alone driving themselves. The convoy began to slow. Leonard slowed with them, maintaining distance. They decelerated smoothly to 40 miles per hour, then 30. Then they pulled onto the shoulder, all 4 trucks simultaneously, a perfectly coordinated maneuver. They stopped. Leonard stopped too, 100 yards back. He sat with his engine idling, watching. The trucks sat there, exhaust continuing to pour from their stacks, lights on. Waiting. For what? Leonard grabbed his phone. No signal. He tried the CB again. Anyone out there? Anyone seeing this? 4 trucks pulled over on I-70 eastbound, mile marker 314. They're running with no drivers. Anyone copy? Static answered him. The door of the lead truck opened. Leonard's breath caught. Someone was climbing out. A figure in dark clothing, male from the build. The man stood on the shoulder, facing Leonard's direction. Even from 100 yards away, even in the darkness, Leonard could tell something was wrong with the figure. The proportions were off. The way it stood was too still, too rigid. Not natural. The figure raised an arm, beckoning, "Come here." Every instinct Leonard had screamed at him to drive away. "Floor it, get out of there, report this to someone." Anyone, but he couldn't move. His hands felt frozen on the wheel. His foot wouldn't press the accelerator. The figure began walking toward him. Slow, measured steps. Leonard watched it approach, his heart hammering so hard his vision pulsed with each beat. As it got closer, details emerged in his headlights. The clothing was wrong, not just old-fashioned, but wrong. Like it existed in 2 places at once, blurring at the edges. The face was obscured by shadows that moved independently of any light source. It reached Leonard's truck. It stood beside his door, looking up at him. Leonard forced himself to look back. There was no face, just shadow. Moving, writhing shadow where a head should be. The thing reached up. Its hand, if it was a hand, touched Leonard's door handle. The metal frosted over instantly, ice crystals spreading across the surface. Leonard screamed. He slammed his foot on the accelerator. His truck lurched forward, tires squealing. He didn't look back. He accelerated to 90, then higher, pushing every limit. But in his mirror, he saw them. 4 trucks were moving again, pulling back onto the highway. And they were keeping pace with him. No matter how fast he drove, they stayed exactly the same distance behind. When he hit 100 miles per hour, faster than his truck should go, faster than was safe, they matched him effortlessly. Leonard grabbed the CB. "Mayday, mayday, anyone on this channel, I'm being chased on I-70 eastbound. 4 trucks, no drivers." There, the CB exploded. Sparks and smoke erupted from the unit. Leonard yanked his hands away, cursing. The radio was destroyed, melted plastic dripping down his dashboard. His phone rang. Impossible, he had no signal, but it was ringing. He answered with a shaking hand. "Hello, Leonard Shaw." The voice was wrong, multiple voices speaking in unison, male and female and something else. "Why are you running? Get away from me." "We're not chasing you, Leonard. We're escorting you." "Escorting me where?" "To the place you're meant to go. The place all of us go eventually. The final delivery." "I don't understand." "Will, every driver joins the convoy eventually. Some when they die on the road, some when they're chosen. You're chosen, Leonard. You're going to drive with us." "No, I'm not dying. I'm not joining anything." "You don't have to die. You just have to accept. Pull over, get out of your truck, walk back to us, climb into the empty seat, drive forever. No pain, no loneliness, just the road eternal." Leonard looked in his mirror. The 4 trucks were closer now, close enough that he could see inside the cabs. They weren't empty anymore. Drivers sat behind the wheels, pale figures with hollow eyes and expressionless faces, driving, forever driving. "That's not life," Leonard said. "That's hell. It's purpose. It's what we were meant for, driving, always driving, no stops, no destinations, just movement through the dark. Accept it, Leonard." "Go to hell." He saw an exit ahead. Russell, Kansas. He jerked the wheel right, taking the exit at 80 miles per hour. His trailer swung wide, tires screaming. He nearly jackknifed but managed to control it. The phantom convoy didn't follow. They continued straight on I-70, disappearing into the distance. Leonard pulled into a truck stop, shaking so badly he could barely walk. The attendant asked if he was okay. He nodded, unable to speak. He sat in the fluorescent-lit restaurant for 4 hours, drinking coffee, waiting for sunrise. When dawn came, he inspected his truck. The CB was destroyed, melted beyond recognition. His door handle had frost damage, the metal warped and pitted. And on his trailer, scratched deep into the paint, were words he hadn't seen before. "Convoy calls YOU. Convoy comes for you. Convoy takes you." Leonard quit trucking that. He moved to an apartment in Topeka, got a job at a grocery store. For months, he refused to even drive a car. But he couldn't escape the dreams. Every night, he dreamed of the phantom convoy. 4 trucks running through darkness, drivers with hollow eyes, voices calling his name. "Join us, Leonard. The road never ends. The delivery is eternal." 6 months after the encounter, Leonard was hospitalized with a heart condition. Stress-induced, the doctors said. They stabilized him, but he'd need lifestyle changes, medication, monitoring. He lay in his hospital bed one night, staring at the ceiling. A noise made him turn his head. Through the window, 4 stories up, he saw them. 4 trucks driving through the sky. Old Kenworth W900s with chrome stacks moving in perfect formation. They circled the hospital once, twice. The lead truck's driver, hollow-eyed, expressionless, looked directly at Leonard through the window and raised a hand, not beckoning, waving, as if to say, "Not yet, but eventually. We'll wait." Then they drove away into the night sky, leaving Leonard alone with his racing heart and the terrible certainty that someday, somehow, they would come for him again. And next time he wouldn't be able to run, because you can't outrun something that exists outside of roads and rules and reality itself. You can only delay it, and eventually every driver runs out of road. Story 7. The Voice in the Static. Carla Domings prided herself on her professional setup. Unlike the old-timers who relied on CB radios, Carla had modernized completely: satellite communication, real-time GPS tracking, fleet management apps, and a premium sound system for her podcasts and audiobooks. Her Peterbilt 579 was her office, and she ran it with the efficiency of any Fortune 500 executive. So when her broker assigned her a run through rural Montana in January 2022, hauling medical supplies to remote clinics, she was confident and prepared. She demapped every stop, coordinated delivery windows, and downloaded enough entertainment for the week-long circuit. The trouble started on day 3, near the town of Jordan, one of the most isolated places in the continental United States. Her satellite GPS lost signal. Not unusual in that terrain where badlands and river breaks created dead zones. She switched to her backup system, also dead. Her phone showed no service. The The fleet management app disconnected. Even her radio went silent, no stations, no signal, just... Carla wasn't worried yet. She had paper maps. She'd driven before GPS existed. She could navigate the old-fashioned way until she reached an area with coverage. But then the static changed. It started as a pattern, a rhythmic pulse beneath the white noise. Carla turned up the volume, listening. The pattern repeated, 3 short pulses, 3 long, 3 short, SOS in Morse code. Huh, Carla said. Sometimes old distress signals bounced around atmospheric conditions, amateur radio operators or emergency beacons. She turned the dial, seeking a clear channel. Every frequency had the same thing, static with the SOS pattern underneath, every single one. Then a voice emerged from the noise. Female, distorted, barely audible. "Help me trapped, please," Carla's skin prickled. She grabbed her CB. She kept one despite rarely using it. "This is Carla Doming's mobile unit. I'm receiving a distress signal. Can anyone clarify? What's your location? Over." The voice came through the CB, now clearer. "Thank God, finally, someone who can hear me. I'm trapped. I don't know where. Everything is white, just white. I've been here so long." "Who are you? What's your name?" Jennifer Holt. I'm a truck driver. I was hauling through Montana and then something happened. The road disappeared. Everything went white. I've been trying to call for help, but no one answers. You're the first person who's responded." Carla's mind raced. A stranded driver in a whiteout, but it was clear today, no snow. "Jennifer, can you describe your surroundings?" "There's nothing to describe, just white. No ground, no sky, just absence. And I can hear things, movement. Something circling me. I can't see it, but I can hear it." "Okay, stay calm. What's your truck number, your company?" "Mountain States Transport, truck 447. I left Billings 3 days ago, or I think it was 3 days. Time doesn't work right here." Carla pulled over. This wasn't just strange, it was impossible. She grabbed her phone, even though it had no signal, and tried to type notes. The screen flickered. Text appeared that she hadn't typed. "Help me, please help me. ITS getting closer." Carla dropped the phone. The CB crackled, Jennifer's voice again, more desperate. "It sees me now. Oh God, it sees me. It's not shaped right. It shouldn't exist. Why does it?" she screamed. The scream went on, rising in pitch until it became a frequency that made Carla's teeth ache. Then it cut off. Silence, pure, dead silence. Not even static now, just emptiness. "Jennifer," Carla called. "Jennifer, are you there?" No response. Carla tried every channel, every frequency. Nothing. Her satellite GPS blinked back on. It showed signal again. Everything returned to normal. Carla sat there, hands shaking. What the hell was that? Prank, some kind of interference, but her phone, the text appearing on its own. She searched online for Jennifer Holt. Mountain States Transport, truck 447. The search returned results. Her stomach dropped as she read. Jennifer Holt, age 34. Truck driver for Mountain States Transport. Disappeared December 28, 2021. Last known location, Highway 200, Montana, near Jordan. Truck and driver never found despite extensive search. Case remains open. December 28 was 6 weeks ago. Carla called the Montana Highway Patrol from her phone, reported what she'd heard. The trooper sounded skeptical but took her information. They'd look into it. Probably radio interference, he suggested. Old signals bouncing around. The mind filling in patterns. Happens all the time in remote areas. Carla wanted to believe that. She continued her route, made her deliveries, tried to forget. But 3 nights later, staying in a motel in Glasgow, she heard it again. The static from her phone sitting on the nightstand. She hadn't turned on the radio. The phone wasn't playing anything, but the static was there. And underneath it, that voice. Carla Domings, you heard me." "You're the only one who heard me." Carla grabbed the phone. "Jennifer. It took me, after I screamed, it pulled me into itself. Now I'm part of it, part of the space between, and I can see others, so many others, drivers who vanished, people who disappeared. We're all here, stuck in the white, and it's hungry. What is it? The road, the nothing, the gap, I don't know what to call it, but it's alive. It hunts. It opens up beneath people and swallows them, and then we're here. Forever. How do I help you?" You can't, but you can warn others. Tell drivers if they hear static that sounds wrong, if their GPS fails and doesn't come back. If they see white that isn't snow or fog, they need to stop, turn around, don't drive into the blank spaces. The nothing is hungry and it's growing. Where are you? Where is this place? Everywhere, nowhere, between. It's not a location, it's a state. A gap in reality. We're in the gap and it wants more. It's going to open wider. More people will fall through. More disappearances. Tell them, Carla, please. The static rose to a deafening roar. Carla threw the phone across the room. It hit the wall and went silent. She packed immediately, checked out of the motel at 4 a.m., drove straight back to her home base in Idaho Falls. She filed a report with her company, told them everything. They recommended she take time off. Stress. Isolation. Rural Montana was hard on some people. Carla did take time. She researched missing truckers. The numbers were staggering. Every year, dozens of commercial truck drivers disappeared without a trace. Trucks found abandoned, trucks never found at all. Drivers who were experienced, professional, prepared, just gone. The explanations were always mundane. Ran off, foul play, accidents in remote areas where bodies weren't recovered. But Carla wondered, how many of them had heard the static? How many had driven into gaps they couldn't see? How many were trapped in the white space between, screaming for help that would never come? She tried to return to work. Made it 2 weeks before she heard the static again coming from her truck speakers. Jennifer's voice and others now. A chorus of the lost calling her name. Carla, Carla, help us. Warn them, don't let more fall through. The nothing is opening, it's spreading. Soon it will be everywhere. She quit that day, sold her truck. Moved to Portland, Oregon, a big city where she'd never have to drive through empty spaces again. But she still hears it sometimes. Static from radios she's passing, from phones in other people's hands, from white noise machines and TV displays showing nothing but snow. And underneath the static, voices, more voices every time. Drivers, hikers, people who vanished into gaps they couldn't see. All of them calling, all of them warning. The nothing is growing, the gaps are spreading. And someday, maybe soon, there won't be anywhere left that's solid. Everywhere will be gap, everywhere will be the space between, and we'll all fall through. Carla knows this. She hears it in the static every night. The chorus of the lost telling her the truth that no one wants to believe. The world has holes in it, and something hungry lives in those holes. Something that's not content with taking people one at a time anymore. It wants more. It's opening wider. And when it does, when the gaps spread far enough, none of us will have anywhere left to stand. We'll all be in the white space, all be voices in the static, all be lost. Forever. Story 8, The Last Delivery. Frank Holloway was dying. Stage 4 lung cancer, the doctors said. Maybe 6 months, maybe less. He was 68 years old and he'd spent 45 of those years behind the wheel of a semi-truck. When the diagnosis came in April 2023, his wife Margaret begged him to retire. Spend his remaining time with family. Rest. Stop pushing his body so hard, but Frank couldn't stop. Trucking wasn't his job, it was his identity. The road was his life. He'd driven through 48 states, hauled everything imaginable, seen the country change across decades. The idea of sitting at home waiting to die was so he kept driving, shorter routes, local deliveries. His company was understanding, gave him easy runs. Margaret cried but eventually accepted it. This was how Frank needed to end, on his own terms, on the road. The last delivery came on October 31st, Halloween. Frank smiled at the coincidence, his last job on the day of ghosts and endings. The manifest was simple: furniture from a warehouse in Reno to a residence in Ely, Nevada. 5 hours, easy drive, done by dinner time. He left at noon. The sky was clear, temperature mild. Perfect driving weather. Frank felt good, better than he had in weeks. The pain medication was working. His breathing was steady. The route took him through empty Nevada desert on Highway 50, the loneliest road in America. Frank had driven it 100 times. He loved the emptiness, the way the landscape seemed infinite. Around 3 p.m., his CB radio crackled to life. Frank had kept his old Cobra 148 GTL from the 1980s mounted on his dash. Most trucks didn't run CBs anymore, but Frank was old school. "Frank Holloway," a voice said, male, calm, familiar somehow. "You there, Frank?" Frank grabbed the microphone. "Yeah, I'm here. Who's this?" "Someone who's been waiting for you, someone who has your final manifest." "My final? What are you talking about?" "Look at your GPS." Frank looked. A new waypoint had appeared, not Ely, but somewhere else. Coordinates that pointed deeper into the desert off any established road. "That's your actual destination, Frank. The furniture is a cover. What you're really hauling is yourself." Frank's blood ran cold. "Who is this? How did you access my GPS?" "You know who this is. Deep down, you've always known. Drivers like you lifers, you don't just stop driving. There's one last delivery, one final run, and it's time for yours. I'm not going to some coordinates in the middle of nowhere." "Yes, you are, because you need to understand what comes next. Because you've earned the truth." Frank should have been terrified. He should have called the police, reported hacking, turned around. But something in the voice was compelling. And part of him, the part that had lived on highways for 45 years, was curious. What was the final delivery? He turned off Highway 50 onto a dirt road that appeared exactly where his GPS indicated. The road wasn't on any map. It looked old, barely maintained, winding through desert scrub and rock formations. Frank drove for 30 minutes. The road became rougher. His truck bounced over ruts and stones. He was going to destroy his suspension, but somehow that didn't matter anymore. The road ended. In the center stood a building, or something like a building. It was made of weathered wood and corrugated metal, architectural styles from different eras combined impossibly. Part of it looked frontier era, part looked 1950s, part looked modern. Frank stopped his truck. The CB crackled. "Welcome to the depot, Frank. Final stop for every driver who's earned it. Get out. Come inside." Frank climbed down. His body ached. The cancer always ached, but he walked to the building. The door opened before he touched it. Inside was impossible. The space was larger than the exterior dimensions. It was a truck stop, but like no truck stop that had ever existed. Booths and tables stretched into the distance. A counter ran the length of one wall. And sitting in the booth, standing at the counter, were people. Hundreds of people. All ages, all eras, all wearing the clothing of truck drivers across decades. Frank recognized styles from the 1930s, 40s, 50s, up through modern gear. They all looked at him, and they all smiled. "Frank Holloway," the voice said. A man stepped forward from the crowd. He was middle-aged, wearing a denim jacket and a cap with a trucking company logo Frank didn't recognize. "Welcome. I'm Michael Santos. I've been here since 1987. This is the last stop, the place where drivers come when their final delivery is complete." "Is this, am I dead?" "Not yet, but soon. You're here early because you've earned it. 45 years, millions of miles. You've spent your life on the road. This is where the road leads for people like us." Frank looked around. He recognized faces, not names, but faces he'd seen over the years, passing trucks, rest stops, brief conversations. Drivers who'd disappeared. Retired and never heard from again. Or died, accidents reported in industry news. They were all here, all of them. Every trucker who truly lived on the road was eventually welcomed to the last stop. "What is this place?" Frank asked. "Eternity," Michael said. "For drivers, we don't go to heaven or hell, we come here, we keep driving. There are roads beyond those doors, infinite roads through infinite landscapes. Roads that never end, always something new to haul, always somewhere to go. This is our afterlife, Frank, the road eternal." Frank felt tears in his eyes. "Are you serious?" "Completely. When you die, when the cancer takes you, you'll wake up here. Your truck will be waiting outside, full tank, fresh coffee in the cab, an empty highway stretching forever. And you'll drive for as long as you want, forever if you choose." "Can I?" Frank's voice broke. Can I see the road?" Michael smiled. "Of course. That's why we brought you here early, so the end wouldn't be frightening. Come on." They walked through the building. Frank passed tables where drivers were telling stories, laughing, comparing notes on runs they'd made through impossible places. He passed a map on the wall showing routes that went through landscapes that couldn't exist, highways across the rings of Saturn, through clouds of Jupiter, along the edge of the universe itself. They reached a door. Michael opened it. Beyond was a highway, but not just any highway. It glowed with soft light, stretching toward a horizon that was sunset and sunrise simultaneously. Mountains rose on one side, ocean stretched on the other. The sky held colors Frank had never seen, and trucks were driving on it. Dozens of them, all makes, all models, all eras, driving peacefully, purposefully, eternally. "This is what comes next," Michael said. "No pain, no deadlines, no breakdowns or traffic or stress. Just driving, pure driving, seeing things no living person can see. Going places that exist outside reality. It's what we always wanted, Frank, eternal road, eternal freedom." Frank watched the highway. He felt peace for the first time since his diagnosis. "How long do I have?" he asked. "Maybe a week, maybe a month, not long, but now you know. When it happens, don't be afraid, just close your eyes. When you open them, you'll be back here and you'll drive forever." "Thank you," Frank whispered. "Thank you for showing me." Michael put a hand on his shoulder. "Earned it, now go back, finish your delivery, spend time with Margaret, say your goodbyes, and when it's time, we'll be waiting." Frank returned to his truck. The building faded behind him, becoming invisible in his mirrors. The dirt road returned him to Highway 50. His GPS showed Ely again, the furniture delivery back on track. He completed the job, drove home to Reno, told Margaret he loved her. He didn't tell her about the last stop, she wouldn't understand. This was for drivers. This was for people who'd lived on highways. Frank died 3 weeks later, peacefully at home with his family around him. But truck drivers in Nevada sometimes report something strange. On Highway 50, late at night, they see a truck that doesn't belong. An older model, lights glowing softly, driving at a peaceful speed. And the driver looks happy, content, at peace. They say it's Frank Holloway making his eternal run. They say he's hauling nothing and everything. They say he's found what all drivers dream of, the road that never ends. And someday, when their own final delivery comes, they hope they'll join him. Hope they'll see the last stop. Hope they'll earn their place on the eternal highway. Because for truckers, real truckers, the kind who live on the road more than anything else, death isn't the end. It's just the beginning of the longest, most beautiful run they'll ever make. Forever.